So my name's Louise Dingley. I'm a veterinary surgeon and I'm also the course lead for the Master's Programme in Veterinary Primary Care and Clinical Leadership here at the University of Central Lancashire School of Veterinary Medicine. And tonight I'm delighted to be able to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Hannah Perrin. Now, Hannah actually teaches on a couple of our postgraduate courses here. So we're very lucky. And she is a leadership and development expert with extensive experience in a range of environments in the veterinary industry. So starting on the front reception desk in a veterinary practice and then working up to managing a foresight practice. She then went on to teach veterinary education and professional skills at the RVC, and more recently launched and delivered the certificate in veterinary management and leadership with the VMG or Veterinary Management Group. She has an MA in health sciences and a PhD in veterinary education, and has recently launched her own business, Clarity Professional, through which she helps leaders to grow with kindness and confidence, which I think is really lovely. So safe to say we are in very good hands tonight, and I think we'll all get lots of value and some good networking tips from this webinar. So thank you, and over to you, Hannah.
Thank you very much, Louise. I'm just going to shuffle some screens around. Okay. Lovely. So thank you very much for the introduction, Louise, and thank you very much to the UCLan crew for the invitation. I'm very happy to talk about building your support network as a veterinary leader. Now, this is something that doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. If, like me, you are the kind of person who would rather go and hide on a rock than hear the phrase icebreakers or networking drinks or let's go around the room and say a little bit about ourselves. Those kind of things tend to bring me out in a cold sweat. But there are some practical techniques, practical things that you can do to help build your support network. So this evening we're just going to whiz through a little bit about why it's important, a little bit about who you want, who you need on your cheerleading team, and then a little bit about how we actually go about that, what we need to do, and a little to-do list at the end, because I'd like to challenge you to actually take action from some of the things that we're going to be talking about this evening. So firstly, welcome. Louise has given you a bit of an introduction to me and what I do. So this is me and this is Maisie Dog, because any talk is obviously an excuse to show you lots of pictures of my pets. So do we want to talk about building our support network, particularly in leadership roles? And there's a bit of a truth in this, that leadership is, or certainly can be, quite lonely. Generally speaking, if you're in a leadership role, you are generally going to be the only person in that role. Particularly if you're working within a practice situation, there is only one head nurse. Generally, there's only one practice manager, there's only one clinical director. And it can be a pretty lonely place. That can be compounded if you have been promoted to lead a team that you were previously part of. So there's a lot of relationships to negotiate in a leadership role. And again, sometimes it feels like the only person that will listen is the dog. So what we're going to do is have a little bit of think about who you have sort of on your team as it is. And I don't mean as in your working team, but who you have in your support team. We're going to think about where the gaps might be, and we're going to do a little bit of intentional thinking about who we want to have on our team, and then think about how we might go about filling in some of those gaps. So let's start by just thinking about who you have in your support team at the moment. I'd like you to, if you can, just to actually have a think about who are the people that support you in your leadership role. So within your working environment, you'll probably be working within some kind of leadership and management structure. So your support people will likely be your line manager or team leader, or wherever you work it. You'll have people that you lead. You will have your colleagues and co-workers. There might be senior leadership in your organisation that will constitute kind of your support crew within your workplace. But your support team is a lot wider than that. So you may well have previous colleagues, people that you used to work with that you're still in touch with. You may have people from your student days, whether that's from a primary qualification, from CPD, that kind of thing. So you'll have your teachers, your tutors, your student friends. And then you may have wider links within your industry. So you may be involved with associations or groups, you may meet people at different events, you may volunteer. And then you've got your sort of your home life outside of work support team. So that will be obviously your friends and family, people who are local to you, and also your local community and however you may be involved there. So there's a lot of people that are connected with you that will have some kind of support role for you in your leadership role, whether directly or indirectly, and whether they know it or not, whether it's deliberate or not accidental, but whether it just sort of happens organically. So having thought about who we might have sort of available as a support person in our kind of wider network, let's think a little bit more deliberately about who we need in our support network as a veterinary leader. And I'd like to use, I love an acronym. So the acronym that I use when we're talking about who is on our support team is who's in your space. So SPACE is our acronym, SPACE. And I think we need these 5 people, these 5 different types of person, these 5 different roles. So this is our space. We need our supporters, our promoters, our advisors, our challengers, and our empowerers. I'm not sure empowerers is actually a word, but you get the idea, people who can empower us. So we're going to go through each of these sort of 5 support roles. And as we go through, what I'd like you to do is just think about whether you have a person in that role in your kind of wider support team as a veterinary leader, who that person is for you, or several people. Obviously you might have more than one person filling that particular function, and whether there's a gap in your support network as a vet leader. So it's a kind of a bit of a diagnostic tool. So we're going to go through and see who we have and who we may need, and then we'll look at where we might find them and how we might go about that. But let's have a look at first one. So the first sort of group of people, first role we need in our leadership support network is we need a supporter or a group of supporters. It might be your dog, but supporters are close friends, your partners, your family members, your local community, your neighbours. They are generally not part of your working life. These are the people that provide you your personal leadership support. So your personal support in your working role, whatever it may be. They are absolutely your cheerleaders. They will encourage, they will listen, they will reassure. They will always support your choices. It's valuable to have someone not in your sort of professional sphere because they get to give you perspective. There's somebody who is outside of the vet sector bubble, the leadership bubble, whatever it may be that you're working within. They give you a different perspective. They are an outsider looking in, and they are the person that can go, well, hang on a minute, that's not normal. If you're getting very bogged down in things, they can encourage you to take a step back. So your supporter is always a person who will always be on their side. They will always champion you. You know the phrase, be the person your dog thinks you are? That is the person who your dog thinks you are. So they are a valuable outside perspective, and they will always be a cheerleader for you. So just have a little think. Who is that person for you? Do you have that person? Do you need to find that person? Who is that person, or who are those people? You might have a crowd of them, but it's a really important role that you need to have. Well, if anybody in a vet role, but particularly in a leadership role, to have that person who gives you the outside perspective and will always cheer you on. So that's your supporter. Our next letter, P, is for promoter. This is the person who will sing your praises, as demonstrated by Dolly the cat. Now, your promoter is a close colleague, so somebody who knows your work really well. So it might be somebody who you work with now, it might be somebody you have worked with previously, might be someone who you haven't necessarily kind of directly worked with, but might have collaborated with on a particular project or in an association role or volunteering. But they are someone who knows your work very well. And they are someone who will advocate for you. They are the person who will wave the flag for you and sing your praises. They will ensure that your achievements are recognized. They will be the person who is pointing out, look what this person did. Isn't that great? And they will talk about you positively to anyone who will listen. They are a great person to have who can do things like writing references for you, where they will nominate you for awards. They will put you forward for things that you may not necessarily feel like you are ready for. They are the person who will promote you both inside and outside the organization. They will be the one that sings your praises. Again, a really helpful person to have, a really helpful role to have, particularly for newer leaders, if you're maybe a little bit less sure of your sort of position. If you are a experiencer of the classic imposter syndrome, the promoter is the person who will build you up and say, no, you've got this, you can do this, you are qualified, you are ready, go and do it, please. And they are the person who, again, will sing your praises to anybody else and say, well, have you thought about such and such a person for this role or this project or this promotion or whatever it might be? And super duper useful. So again, who is that person for you? Who could that person for you be? Is there someone who will write you a fantastic LinkedIn recommendation or do a testimonial for your website or whatever it is that that might be valuable to you? Who is the person who does that for you? Think about that. Do you have somebody? Do you need to find somebody? Do you need to maybe cultivate somebody? Okay, but that is your promoter. Okay, so space letter A is for advisor. Now, the advisor is the wise person, somebody who is very experienced and very knowledgeable in your field, as demonstrated by Specs the cat here, who is 19 years old, has seen it all, knows it, has been there and done it. And the value of your advisor is that they have been there and done it. They are a fantastic source of advice. They can give you suggestions and recommendations. They know everything there is to know about whatever it is your area is. They are the person who you go and ask questions to. In a leadership role, and particularly in the vet sector, you may have different people acting as your advisors in different sort of spheres of your role. So, for example, if you're a clinical leader, you're quite likely to have a different person being sort of acting as your sort of clinical advisor, and you might have a completely different person acting as in this role for your leadership role. You might then have a whole different person acting as your advisor in a teaching role. So this may well be one where it takes a village. So there'll be advisors with different sets of expertise. There'll be people that kind of collectively add up to a Venn diagram with you in the middle that support all these different facets of whatever your role is. So again, think about who that is for you, who fulfills that role or those roles. Think about the different elements of your leadership role. Do you have someone who you can go to and ask, I've got this issue, can we talk it through? Have you seen this before? How did you deal with it? Can I just talk you through this plan I have and you can tell me if I'm being an idiot? That kind of thing where someone will listen, apply their expertise completely non-judgmentally, but they have the experience and the wisdom and are generally very happy to share it. Okay, so that is your advisor. Letter C, who's in our space, is for your challenger. And this is represented by Miles, one of my foster kids from last year. He has a question. That's the little paw. So this is your challenger. And the challenger, as part of your support network, is a really, really important role. And the role of the challenger is basically to make you stop and think about things. It's someone who is generally different from you, has a different approach to things, and they cause you to reconsider and rethink your approach and stop and take a pause and reflect on your leadership practice. One of the interesting things about the challenger role, it may not be somebody you know personally. It may be somebody you follow on social media. It may be someone who you see speaking at an event, but it's someone who makes you stop and think, oh, hang on, I've made an assumption there, or this is how I've always done it. Do I need to update my thinking? Do I need to do a bit of research? Do I need to find out more about this? And it's a person who makes you think and a person who tests you. And it's important, this is not a confrontational way. It's not a person who will come into your office and go, this is rubbish, you're doing this all wrong, kind of thing. It's not a confrontational challenge. It's just a causing you to question your assumptions and maybe inspiring you to work a little bit differently. And obviously, the huge value of having a challenger is that it will help you to grow, particularly as a leader. I very much subscribe to, I can't remember who said it, but the quote that the most dangerous saying in business is, we've always done it this way. And the importance of challenging those thoughts and thinking, well, hang on a minute, do we need to think about this? If we've always done it this way, is that still working for us? And it also helps you reflect. Obviously, we all know, particularly if you're clinically qualified, we have to reflect on our learning, we have to reflect on our practice. And it's really important that we have some way of doing that. And having somebody in that challenger role can be a really valuable thing to help you do that. So again, for this one, do you have someone who challenges you in your leadership role, whether they know it or not? But who are the people that make you stop and think and consider and test your assumptions, your knowledge, your practice, your work, whatever it may be? Again, if you have one, what's their role? If you don't have one, do you need one? Would it be useful to add one to kind of your support network? Have a think about that. Okay, so our last letter in our Who's in Our Space acronym is E for Empowerer, as demonstrated by Dottie here. So your empowerer is the person who empowers you. They are the person who will build you up. If you want to be a little dog sitting in a sunbeam, you go and be a little dog sitting in a sunbeam. And your empowerer is usually a senior member of whatever community you are within, and they are the person that provides opportunities, encourage your progression. They usually have some kind of a coaching role. So if you've done any kind of coaching training or coaching experience, you will know that coaches do not provide the answers. What coaches do is they ask the right questions, and your empowerer will do this. So they will be the one who signposts developments. They will encourage your progress. They will help you to think that you can do it in terms of empowerment. It's not just saying, well, have you thought about this? It's like, right, what do you need to get there? So there's a kind of a practical element of it as well. But they are very much a build you up person, more personally than the supporter, who will be more kind of, I'm happy for you to do that. I'm supporting you, whatever. The empower is a little bit more, well, how are we actually going to do it? How are you actually going to do it? So that's kind of well, it's related to the coaching role. It was a person who will encourage you to kind of take the steps towards whatever it is that you're trying to develop as a leader. So if we bring all that together, I'll give you an example and why this kind of range of support roles is really, really helpful as a vet leader. So take an example of applying for a promotion. I appreciate these are in the wrong order, but my letters didn't quite work for this example in the right order. So we're going for the wrong order. But if you're thinking about applying for a promotion, okay, your empowerer will be the one that goes, hey, have you seen this? There's this vacancy. I think you'd be great at it. I think you should do it. Your advisor, the wise person, will be the one who gives you tips on what to put in your cover letter, how to structure your CV, what that kind of role will be looking for, because they've been there and done it. Your challenger will be the one who, for example, practices interview questions with you. Okay, let's get into the, are you clear on why you want to do this? Are you really clear on what you could bring to the role? They will be the one that can really bring that out. Your supporter will be the one who absolutely provides the moral support, cheers you on, is there with a glass of wine when your interview is finished and tell you did a great job. That is their role. And your promoter will be the one who sings your praises and announces it. Isn't it great? Look, such and such has got this new job. Isn't she great? I think they'll be brilliant. They've got all these brilliant skills that they'll bring to it, and they will do that publicly and loudly so other people can see. So you can see how these different roles all have have a part to play, and they all kind of complement each other. And obviously you won't need all of them all the time, but the idea is that you kind of cultivate this support network that you can draw on at different stages of your career, when you've got different challenges, when you need different types of support. So one of my challenges for you this afternoon is just to think about who you have in your kind of professional circle who can fulfill those roles. And if you've identified a gap, okay, how can we fill that gap? So we're going to go on to have a look at what we can actually do. So next step, take action. So this is all about making connections. And we have kind of two options there. We either do it in person or we do it online. Those are pretty much the kind of the two ways that we connect with people. Obviously, the vet world is a very small world. You could probably join every single person who works in the vet sector up within, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 degrees of separation at the most. So in terms of kind of what we call classical networking, if you want to meet a particular person, you could probably do it fairly easily by just a couple of steps. But just to look a little bit about the kind of practicalities about how we actually do this in terms of building a professional network. So in person, good Lord, you have to be brave. And again, if you're an introverted person or someone who, again, would rather hide behind their cup in the networking drinks type thing, you've got to be a little bit brave about it if you want to sort of develop your connections. But it doesn't have to be that scary. People generally in the vet world are nice. People like to talk to each other. People like to share their interests and their skills and this kind of thing. So we're going to look at some of the little tactics that you can use. Pay a compliment is one of my favorite ones because it's really easy. Oh, Louise, love your earrings. How are you? Hi, I'm Hannah, or whatever it might be. And ask questions. Classic. Can I ask you about this, that, and the other? And we'll look at some examples in just a sec. Doing it online is simpler in terms of you can generally reach a lot of people and a wide range of people much more easily. Slightly harder because, excuse me, it's that kind of one step removed from a personal connection. So when you're making connections online, particularly if it's someone that you haven't previously met, top tips in terms of being specific. Who are you and why do you want to make the connection? And be clear on your intentions. Hi, I'm not about to try and spam you with selling whatever it is I'm selling. I'm genuinely interested in you, your work, your role, your organization, whatever it is. And there are a lot of different opportunities for doing this. There are many, 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 many places to connect. Like I said, we're a very well connected industry. So some of them are very obvious. So going to things like the industry events, the conferences, the congresses, the big meetups where you'll get hundreds and hundreds of people all in one place. Obviously, you've got slightly smaller scale CPD events, training sessions. Obviously, a lot of that is online now, but some of it is in person. So going to those kind of things can be hugely valuable in terms of making those connections and building that network. Getting involved with professional associations is hugely valuable in terms of building a network, particularly those that have like a regional structure. So they might have a national organization, but they'll have like a regional representative or a local area rep, that kind of thing. So depending on your role, obviously you've got the veterinary and the vet nurse and the vet receptionist ones, you've got various leadership associations, you've got various kind of specialist interests within those. And the more you get involved with those, the more reward you get out of them. So if obviously you can go to the events, but you can also volunteer, you can join the committees, you can be part of a special interest group or a research project or that kind of thing. And they are huge. And probably some of my strongest professional connections have come from doing that kind of work and being a little bit brave and saying, can I be involved in this particular project? I'm really interested in this. People will generally say, gosh, yes, of course, please come join us. You also have things like local business groups that are not veterinary specific. Shocker, you don't have to have support from within the veterinary sector. And things like your local chamber of commerce, your local women in business groups. There are obviously national ones as well, things like networking groups and business clubs and that kind of thing. But they can be brilliant for making connections with people who have expertise that you don't. So local business groups can connect you with marketers or social media people or legal experts or accountants or any kind of those kind of allied services that people in a leadership role may well need. And it can be really interesting, again, to get an outside perspective. So there can be somebody who could fulfill the challenger role. Really, why do you do that in the vet sector? We don't do that. Oh, okay, I hadn't thought of that. Loads of clubs and networking directories, this kind of thing. Again, probably not within the vet sector, or they've got Bright Minds that does that. You've got people like Found and Flourish. You've got a load of female leadership networks. You've got a whole load of various groups that exist to make these connections. Some of them you have to pay to join, some not, but they're really worth exploring. Again, you get that just widening the network. Alumni networks can be really useful. So from wherever it was you studied, they will generally have specific meetups, that kind of thing that you can go to. Obviously, all sorts of online stuff. LinkedIn is a classic one for business networking, but a whole bunch of social media. You can join online groups. You can follow particular hashtags or individuals or organizations. Look for the stuff that you are interested in, the particular areas that you want to get into, and also look at who the people that you are interested in following, who they follow, and sort of grow your network that way. Word of mouth can be really, really useful. Again, we are a very well-connected industry. So if you say, oh, I'd really like to chat to whoever about whatever it is, but you don't know them, chances are you will know someone who knows them. So just ask, could you introduce me to such and such? I'd really like to ask them about their work with whatever, or this particular project, or whatever it may be. And communities of practice I've just added there because it's a kind of a collective term for a kind of a loose group that works in a particular area. There's a whole bunch of research about the value of communities of practice and how people join communities of practice and how they develop kind of organically. So they can be around a particular area. So there might be a community of practice around leadership in equine practice, for example, or leadership in vet schools, or whatever sort of sub niche it might be. So again, if you're interested in particular areas, it's always worth exploring those. And then one more point, consider the diversity of your network. We are not a very diverse profession. Diversity obviously can mean a lot of different things, but diversity of thought is always super duper important in terms of challenging you and developing you and progressing your own skills as a leader. And it's very hard to cultivate that diversity of thought if you're connected to a lot of people who are just like you. So again, if you are wanting to really develop your leadership practice, your leadership skills, your understanding, be proactive in diversifying your range of connections, your range of supporters, the people in your network. Perfect. So let's look at a few specifics. Now, sometimes if you're talking to somebody, you want to state your kind of an intentional opener. So it's not just, hi, I'm Hannah, nice to meet you kind of thing, which may well be appropriate depending on the situation, obviously, but one of the things that works really well is saying something nice to somebody. It's really not rocket science. I really like the article you posted yesterday on diagnosing equine lameness. Can I ask you about that? Great one for conferences. I was at your talk on coaching skills. Was really interested in what you said about such and such. Can I ask you about that? Can you tell me more about that? Can we have a chat about that? Can we go and get some coffee and talk about that? I read your book or your paper or whatever it was. Obviously, there's some reason that you want to connect with this person. So tell them what that is. I'm really interested in your work on whatever. I'd really like to find out more about UCLan's leadership qualifications. Like, can we talk about that? Your presentation on topic was really interesting. So whatever it is, it's a positive start to a conversation. It's if you say something positive to someone, it's very unlikely that they're going to then not want to talk to you. People like to be flattered. So these are really good kind of ways to start these types of conversations. If you find that a little bit icky, some that I've found work really well that have been done to me are just being straight up honest about it. I don't know a soul here. Please talk to me. It works. People will sympathize. So you can go with, oh, I've never been to this particular event. Any recommendations? I don't know anyone here. And this third one, I had somebody did this to me. Somebody came and said this to me at VMG conference last year. And they came up to me and said, I've challenged myself to speak to 5 people I don't know this evening. Hi, I'm Sarah. And she's now become a friend. And it was literally her being brave enough to come up and say to a complete stranger, we didn't know who each other was, and we now do. And we now we make a point of meeting up at different events. And I was so impressed by her, it's not even boldness, but just, I love the honesty about that one. Just, I find these things uncomfortable. I've said to myself, I'm going to speak to 5 people. You are one of them. We are now friends. So it can be really effective just to be that little bit vulnerable and say, I don't know a soul. Please talk to me. Following on from that, again, if you've done any kind of coaching training, open questions. Everybody should be kind of vaguely familiar. Closed questions can be answered with one word, a yes or a no. Open questions invite the other person to talk. So you're trying to make that connection. You're trying to sort of build that connection, develop that relationship. So, okay, what are you working on at the moment? What are you excited about at the moment? Because you want to go with something a little bit more reflective, a little bit more invitational than just, oh, so what do you do? Or what's your job? What's your blah, blah, blah. So tell me about is a great coaching question opener. Tell me about whatever it is, because again, it invites the person to talk. What's new at wherever they work or whatever they're doing? That's quite an interesting one, because it's not just, well, what does your organization do, but what's new? So it kind of encourages people to talk to you about what is new and what is exciting and what they may be working on at the moment. If you're a particular event, then it can be quite useful to start with something around the particular event with experiences. So what have you enjoyed? What have you learned? Who have you met? What have you found out? What are you going to continue kind of exploring? So that can be quite useful to kind of, again, develop that connection. And then to kind of got a conversation going, you can make a request. So it depends on kind of why you want to make the connection with this particular person, if you would like them to fulfill one of those space roles for you. But you can absolutely make your request, and you can do this either in person or online. So it might be things like career advice. I'm interested in moving into whatever role it is, so whatever role it is they have or whatever kind of organization it is that they work in. I'm really interested in moving into wildlife medicine. I'd be really grateful for any tips. Can you tell what was your experience? Help. I'd love to learn more about marketing. Do you have any particular recommendations? So books, podcasts, people to follow, connections, this kind of thing. If you are doing it online, you can say, okay, I'm going to be at BVA Live, BVNA, whatever it is. I'd love to catch up about a particular topic. And you might have a particular reason for contacting that person rather than kind of a general connection. It might be that you would like to invite them to work together. I'm working on a particular project. Do you think there's an opportunity to collaborate? I think we're looking at different things. Can we talk about that? So that can be, again, a really sort of positive request to make somebody, because you're saying to somebody, I value your work and I'd like to connect. I'd like to learn more about it, about the role, about the organization, whatever it is. So that can be really useful. Practical things. If you're at an event and you want to speak to a particular speaker, please go for after their session rather than before. I'm fairly sure this would apply to most speakers who do events and this kind of thing. Despite the fact that people may look super duper confident on stage, the bit immediately before your session, you'd be trying to get in the zone, you'd be trying to quash your nerves, whatever it may be. You'll have your routines, but by all means go and talk to people afterwards, but try not to do it immediately before. One practical tip that seems to trip people up sometimes is have your contact details readily available. So if someone says to you, okay, yeah, great, let's check, can I have your email address? Don't then suddenly go, oh, hang on, yes, and then try and find a pen that doesn't work, or whatever it be. So either have business cards, you can just say, yes, here's me, or put QR code on your phone. Super duper easy. There's free QR code generators all over the internet. Create a QR code that links to your LinkedIn page or your website or your email or whatever it might be. Just have it super duper simple that somebody can just go, think, job done. Have a plan. So if you're going to an event that will have networking drinks, or if you're doing something like that where you're going to an event with other people that you want to make these connections with, try and have a plan, or at least have an intention. Be the lady who said, right, I'm going to this thing and it might scare me, but I'm going to speak to 3 people that I don't know, or whatever it is. So set that intention and say it out loud, make yourself accountable, tell somebody else that you're going to do it. But set some kind of intention. I'm going to make 3 new LinkedIn connections. I'm going to find someone to follow who talks about marketing or whatever it might be. Depending on how intentional we want to be, you can set your SMART goals. Okay, by the end of today, I am going to have done X, Y, and Z. Make yourself a little bit more accountable. And it does help if you go in with a plan. One more piece of advice, don't go straight in with a sales pitch. So if the reason you're connecting is that you want to develop your own business proposal, your side hustle, your whatever it is, don't go straight in with a sales pitch. Again, you have to kind of build those connections first. You're developing a support network. It's not necessarily just a sales pitch. It's not, or it shouldn't be here are some things I want from you. Again, this should be a mutually supportive relationship. And like we said, be positive. Go in with your talk was great. I love your shoes. Your dog's so cute. Always helps if there's obviously a pet involved. And one of the things I heard last year, which I absolutely love, and I think this is brilliant. If you take nothing away from this session, take this piece of advice or take this action. Don't admire quietly. So if you come across someone whose work you like, who you go to a conference and they do a brilliant talk, if they publish a paper that you think that's brilliant, tell them. Don't admire quietly. There is a lot of negativity around the world in general, the vet space quite a lot. Don't admire quietly. If you come across something that you like about someone, tell them. You will make that connection. Please let them know. Drop them an email, send them a DM, make a LinkedIn connection, go up afterwards and say, that was great, but don't admire quietly. Okay, last few minutes then, and we'll just do a quick summary. So I'm going to give you a to-do list. So what I would like you to do, please, is review your existing networks. Who do you have in your space? Do you have those 5 roles covered? Identify any gaps. So are any of those 5 roles not filled? Where do you have gaps in your support network as a vet leader? What additional support do you need if you want to take the next step in your career or step up as a leader, whatever it may be? Make the connections. Talk to people, online connections, whatever it is. Be bold, be brave. Go and talk to people, make those connections, ask those questions. Don't admire quietly. I think that should be the theme. And then review and update regularly. Obviously, as your career develops, your support network will develop, people will come and go. Make sure you kind of think about and actively curate your support network. And then just finally think about the reverse. Obviously, we don't want this to be a one-way relationship, but which of those roles do you fulfill for other people? Or which of those roles could you fulfill for other people? Are you a supporter, a promoter? Are you an advisor for other people? Are you a challenger for other people? And how does that go? Are you an empowerer? How could you fill in those roles for other people, because the beauty of developing these support networks is that they are mutual, and particularly in leadership roles, like I said at the beginning, leadership can be a lonely place, and the more connections that we can make, the better we will do. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I think that's about my time. If you want to get in touch, all my contact details are on there, so I'll be very happy to hear from anybody. I think I'm handing back to Louise.
Thanks, Hannah. That was really, really great. I am definitely one of those people who finds that icky, trying to strike up conversations in environments where I don't always feel most comfortable. So hopefully we can all try and be brave. And I really love the don't admire quietly. I like that bit.
I love that.
Thinking as well what you can provide to other people as well. I heard somebody else talking, which I think helped take the pressure off a little bit, is focus on being interested as opposed to worrying about being interesting.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you know, and I think that's all really valuable
it works
stuff.
so well. It works so well if you flip around again. Be the person who's interesting. Be a person. I mean, there's the classic: be a person that people want. Don't try and be a leader. Try and be a person that people want to follow. But be the person who's wearing the interesting earrings. So someone will come up to you and say, "Oh, I love your earrings." It starts a conversation. So it works really well if you flip it around.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. And I think we will be doing a Q&A at the end. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for that. And I was also just going to give a little bit of information about the courses that you teach on, Hannah, that we have here. So yeah, hopefully everybody can see the slide there. These are the courses that Hannah teaches on here. So we've got the postgraduate certificate in veterinary education, coaching and leadership, the masters and PG Dip in veterinary primary care and clinical leadership. So I'm the course leader of both those ones, and Hannah contributes to the leadership module, which is a compulsory component of both of those. But we're also lucky because she teaches on our masters and PG Dip in veterinary physiotherapy and clinical rehabilitation as well, and does a bit of business planning and for some of the people on those courses obviously are thinking about setting up their own business, and Hannah helps with lots of information about that stuff. So those are the courses that Hannah covers, and I think I've got another slide which gives us a little bit more little bit of prompting. So the courses that we offer here, the postgraduate ones, are all online. I've put a little star there because there are some practical days involved for the veterinary physiotherapy and clinical rehabilitation course. But apart from those few days, and for the other courses, it is entirely online. We've designed them to be flexible. We realise that most of the people that are on the courses are working, and we need to fit into busy people's schedules. So they're designed to be part-time and flexible, and we release content in 5-week blocks. So we've got 3 modules per year, and each module is made up of 10 weeks of teaching material, and you get 5 weeks at a time. So if you want to work through it week by week, you can do, but equally, if you know that you've got a busy couple of weeks coming up, you could sort of, you could go through 5 weeks in one. We have loads of expert tutors on the courses, and we're really lucky with regards to that. So we've got support from various different people, including Hannah, and we, people all over the world that can provide. Because it's online, it does mean that we can we can get people from literally across the other side of the world to teach on our courses. So that's really quite a big benefit that we have. And I think tagging on to what Hannah was saying there about communities of practice, I've put the words on this slide as well. We didn't know that we were both saying the same thing. But that's something that we really, really value, and is one of the really lovely aspects that's coming out of the course. So we're just in our first year of the primary care course. We're in the second year of physiotherapy. But what we're seeing is this community of various professionals that are kind of working together, sharing their experiences. So a lot of our students have a lot of experience and could be in a senior leadership role, or could be just beginning their veterinary career, or could have done a PhD previously, or come straight out of an undergraduate degree. But we've got loads of different levels of expertise, and what we've tried to do, and I think has worked really well, is people feel comfortable that they can share their expertise with each other, and that helps to build the course or courses. So yes, we're very collaborative. We're focused on reflective learning and, of course, self-directed learning, lifelong learning. And we've also got some optional programs that optional modules that we're putting through, so that the programs can be very personalized. So you can basically, there are some core modules, but in the second year you would be able to pick different modules and kind of create a course that focuses on your interests. We've also got external accreditation. So for our primary care and veterinary education courses, we are accredited by the Academy of Medical Educators. So upon successful completion of those two courses, you are eligible to become a member, and you could use the postnominals ACAD MEd. And we're also in the process of getting accreditation from the Chartered Management Institute, and also RAMP for the physiotherapy course as well. So they all range from 1 to 3 years of study. And yeah, like I say, we've designed them to be very flexible. If there's any questions, you're thinking, oh, I've got my wedding's coming up, and would I be able to work around that? Or you're just not quite sure, but you are interested, then by all means get in touch, and we can chat through and see what we can make work for you. So that was all from me, really. Happy to answer any questions, but I think I'll pass back to Dan just for the last bit.
Yeah, thanks, Louise, and thank you, Hannah, for obviously a fantastic talk as well. I'm not in the veterinary